Everyone loves a good pizza with family or friends or just by yourself sometimes. Anyway, it's easy to make. It's easy to buy pizza from places like Domino's or Papa John's, but that can get expensive. An easy way to save money and make a good meal is to make homemade pizza. You can start with a pre-made dough from somewhere like Walmart, or you can make your own. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a homemade pizza from scratch, and just for one person. It should be about a large if you think about the size of it. So first we're going to gather our ingredients. You need 1 cup of hot water, half a tablespoon of yeast. I like to use active dry yeast at Walmart. It's about $3, but it'll last you about 3 months if you make pizza about once a week. You're also going to need flour. In this recipe, it's about 2.5 cups. And then a myriad of seasonings. I use garlic powder, oregano, and just an Italian seasoning that includes thyme. Let me make sure this one isn't done. We got a little bit. And so first you're going to mix together the yeast, a little bit of honey, about a spoonful of honey, and half a tablespoon of yeast, honey, and a cup of warm water. Mix that together with a tablespoon of olive oil and let it sit for a couple minutes, and this is what it's going to look like after about 5 minutes. It's bubbling up, and that shows you that the yeast is good. Next you're going to add the 2.5 cups of flour. Go ahead and add it all. And you're going to start with 2.5 cups, mix it together, preferably with a wooden spoon. It just works best with how the dough works. While you're mixing it, you can start adding your seasonings. So just a dash of garlic powder, a bit of oregano, a bit of Italian seasoning. We're mostly using that for the thyme that's in it. It's a great spice. After you mix this together, you're going to knead the dough. It's easy to knead it just in the bowl that you already have. You don't have to get out another workstation out. This just makes it easier. If your dough is a little bit too dry and it's not sticking together to form a dough ball, you make sure you wash your hands, add a little bit of water to the dough mixture, but just a tad, and it'll start to form. So I'm going to need to do that. You can see it's a little bit dry, so I'm going to add just a tad bit of water, and it'll start to form. Now, about an hour earlier, I went ahead and made some dough. This is your kneading, so it's going to form it into a ball, and press it down, flip it over onto another side, and press it down again. It's just folding over onto itself, and that's softening the dough up. You're going to do that for about 5 minutes until it's elasticy and it's really smooth. So we're going to do that. And then you put it over an oven just in a warm place, covered by a towel, for about an hour to 2 hours, and it'll rise into a fluffy ball of dough. And that's what we have here. After you have this fluffy ball of dough, you press it down, it'll collapse and form what you're going to make your pizza out of. Next you need a pizza pan, or just a baking pan if you don't have one handy. And, where did I put that? Corn flour. Cornmeal. You're going to sprinkle that on the pan. This makes sure that the pizza doesn't stick, just across it. Without folding your dough, you're just going to put it straight down and start pressing it out to form it into a shape that resembles a pizza. Done. You want the middle to be pretty thin, or like this area to be pretty thin, with a crust around the edge, just slightly raised. If it's too big, it'll puff up. It'll just taste like a lot of bread. Which, if you like that, that's a good idea. But most people prefer to taste the pizza and not just the bread. After you've flattened out your pizza into a pizza shape, your dough into a pizza shape, you're going to pour your sauce right in the middle. And and spread it around, starting from the center, spreading outward. If you need more, make sure you have enough on hand. Until it forms an even layer around the dough, up to the crust, but not over the crust. If you get it too close, it will spill over whenever you eat it and just gets messy. You want to make it relatively even, as thick as you want it, but this is a good how thick we want it. Next, you're going to add some cheese. Start with mozzarella is always a good option. They're pretty standard. Take a handful and just shake it over. That'll make sure it's distributed evenly. And all this stuff is things that you can find at a local Walmart. It's not expensive to make, but if you do buy in bulk like I do, it gets really, really cheap to make a lot of pizzas. And I like to add a bit of cheddar, sharp cheddar. Adds a little bit more flavor than just mozzarella. Next, you add your toppings. For me, I just prefer a plain pepperoni. You can take that one out. And the pizza I made earlier is actually just coming out of the oven, so as I top this, Ashley's going to bring that one out. And you can see, you know it's ready. Yeah, put it right here. You know it's ready whenever the cheese just starts to get crisp on the top and the crust is hardened but not burnt. You don't want it to get too hard. Next, you're going to add, just to make it a little bit better, add a garlicky butter sauce. I've melted the butter. For the butter sauce, all you need to add is garlic powder, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of parsley. Oh, that was some parsley. You mix those together, and you're going to spread it, just butter it onto the crust of your finished pizza. This gives it a really great taste. All you need is about a tablespoon of butter for this. It doesn't take a lot. Just put a layer on. You need to wait about a minute or two after the pizza's out of the oven to make sure that the cheese solidifies before you cut it. Otherwise, the cheese will just run together, make it a lot harder to cut and to eat separated out later. So that's the basic stages of making a homemade pizza. The recipe I mentioned feeds about 1 to 2 people. You can see it's a large pizza, but it's good. This will save for a couple days, so you don't have to eat it all right away. That's how you eat a pizza. That's how you make a homemade pizza. Enjoy.